I feel like as I talk about Wayland, I end up creating more people that complain about it, but I don't know if it's more people or just the same people complaining about different things. Um,
Yeah.
but outside of those people who just jump onto any new thing I talk about, like, oh, multi-window stuff doesn't work, so that's a problem. Like, you don't use multi-window, shut up. Um, or like any of these little things, like, I think the main issues that get brought up are gaming and color management. Like the whole, not having tearing, which that whole situation was a disaster to sort of sift through and get that protocol actually dealt with, because there was a lot of people that were very, very opposed to the possibility of
Yeah.
tearing on Wayland. Um,
Right.
and then
Right.
color management's also a big one because you just couldn't do color work. Like that's just a absolute showstopper for a lot of people. Like if you are
Totally.
trying
Yep.
to do any professional work, you just couldn't.
Right. And I think it's also important to distinguish between showstoppers and annoyances,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like a showstopper is I'm an artist. If I don't have color management, all my colors look wrong and I waste lots of money and my client gets
Yeah,
mad at me
yeah.
and I lose my job. Like that's a showstopper, right? If you are saying I like to play video games and I would prefer getting 2 more FPS because I want the screen to be able to tear, like that's not a showstopper. Maybe if you're in esports and this is literally your job, then it's a showstopper. But I'm pretty sure if you're in esports, you're on Windows. So it could be a showstopper for you moving to Linux, but that's much less showstoppery than not having colored management is,
I
right?
can understand that perspective from the desktop, but like from the user perspective, like if you are really big on gaming, you're going to want your gaming to work the way that you expect. It may not be a reason to stop the entire desktop and work on this as like the core main feature, like color management might be, but
Right.
I can understand for those people who really want gaming to be a good experience that for them is going to hold them back at least until it's done.
Absolutely. And it's for that reason that we have screen tearing now, right? Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't have it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just explaining why maybe it took longer than some other things did.
Yeah, it's not like a general showstopper for every single person. But in the same way,
Mhm.
like when I talk about like color management, for example, people are like, "Oh, color management's such a big deal." Like, you don't do professional color work. Shut up. Like, this isn't a problem for like. There are people who will latch on to every single problem that Wayland has, even though it doesn't affect them. As like, this is the reason why I'm not using it. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, it's not. You're not using it because you're a cinnamon user. Like, yeah, the cinnamon doesn't support Wayland. That's the only reason you're not using it.
I think people get attached to what they're using and they build familiarity with it.
Yeah,
We all
yeah.
have this experience of no matter what it is, whether it's your computer, your house, your car, anything, right? You find all the little annoyances,
Hmm.
you get annoyed by them, and then you learn to live with them.
Yeah.
And then when you face the prospect of switching to something else with new annoyances, you're getting re-annoyed again.
Right, right.
And you've forgotten the annoyance that you are facing every day because it's faded into the
Hmm.
background, right? So like when I started using Wayland, and I was like, oh man, my windows aren't remembering where I put them. And then I was like, wait a minute, I can just like use the super left and right keys to tile my windows. And this is like way faster than anything I did before. Oh, okay, like that's slightly annoying, but now I have a better workflow than I had before, so I'm not annoyed anymore. Like
Hmm.
you can kind of get used to anything, but when you feel like you're being forced to switch, and especially being forced to switch to something that's annoying, I think it's very natural and very human to have a negative reaction to be
Hmm.
like, I want everybody to roll out the red carpet for me so that it's perfect if they're going to make me switch.
Hmm.
It's an understandable reaction, frankly.
Yeah. No, no, I get it. Um, but I think that there's a lot of people that have these opinions on Wayland that you ask them when they last used Wayland, and they'll be like 3 years ago. It's like, okay, that's good, but have you tried it recently on something that's not Debian? Like, try it on something that moves quickly,
Yeah.
that has up-to-date software, and let me know what your experience is. And maybe there is a reason why you can't use it. But I don't, like, if your opinion is based on... 'cause hear people still bring up, like, video acceleration X Wayland apps on a video. Like, that's dealt with 3 years ago. Like, that's not a problem
Yeah.
anymore.
It's just natural for people to, remember their old experiences, right? You see this all the time
Yeah.
for KDE in general. People say, oh, KDE is slow, it's buggy, it's ugly, it uses all these resources. And it's like, well, when was the last time you used it?
KDE
Well,
4.
10 years ago, right? 8 years ago. I used Plasma 5.2 and it was terrible. It's like, okay, I bet it was. Have you tried it again recently on a
My
distro
favorite.
that's any good?
It's even better when they say something like KDE 4. It's like, yeah, it was.
Like, oh, I remember the KD4 debacle. It was so bad 15 years ago when I was a child. What? Like, try it again, please. We might be a little better now.
Well,
But it's hard,
I
right?
really hope
People,
so. What are you
it
guys
also
doing?
it underscores the importance of making a good first impression.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because if you make a bad first impression, people have a bad experience, and then they will parrot that experience for the next 20 years, whether it's fair or not. And you can complain about it, and you can like make fun of them and say, well, this is stupid, people shouldn't do this, but like people do this, you know? So you have to make a good first impression, or else people are going to be prejudiced against you forever. Like it's sort of, it gets to be one of the things that I'm very passionate about, which is getting KDE software on hardware. And one of the principles that I follow is you have to be ready when the opportunity strikes. So like when Valve went shopping around for an OS for their Steam Deck, right? They looked around and they found our stuff. And they chose us because our stuff was ready. It was good. If our stuff had been crap, they would have said, well, let's keep looking. Let's go somewhere else, right? And so you have to be ready. You can't let your software get into a state where it's like alpha quality for years, where it's just broken, it's no good. Like it has to be ready so that when people try you out, you at least make a decent first impression.
Yeah. Okay, so the rest of the issues. Next one is when the compositor crashes or restarts, non-Qt apps are killed. Wait, so do the Qt apps come back? Wait,
They do. As of Qt 6.6. Which was released a week ago.
Okay.
But we're targeting that for Plasma 6. So that's the minimum Qt version. So every distro has to have that. So all of your Qt apps will survive the compositor dying. And there are patches that David Edmondson and one of our colleagues, David Redondo, has written to extend this to GTK and to a bunch of to SDL, I think, other toolkits.
None of that stuff's landed yet, has it? It's just the Qt stuff.
I'm not aware.
Okay.
I don't think any of those things have landed yet.
I don't recall
like they've
David
been working
saying
on
any
this
of it had
stuff for
landed.
years. It will land at some point because it's a good feature.